purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
All right, welcome into Hoist the Colors on this Tuesday, November 26th edition of the program. Very exciting show today. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. As always, drop a question, comment, concern there. We'll get to it over the next hour. We're going to talk to a couple of former ECU football players throughout today's show. Maceo Donald going to join us here in a second. Kevin Monroe going to join us here later in the program. Philip Pilkington producing as always. It is a busy Tuesday. A couple programming notes as we get started. Thursday, obviously there will be no Hoist the Colors live show, but we are planning to air a special edition of the Logan Zone from 5 to 7 on Thursday, where myself, Philip, and Steve Logan will have a 2-hour special. We'll be answering many questions that have been submitted on Hoist the Colors and other platforms, so looking forward to that this Thursday during Thanksgiving. Of course, we're off for the holidays. We will have a show tomorrow. Bobby Harward will join us. Our usual Friday guest will make our picks and all that on Wednesday, and then we'll be off from the show, Hoist the Colors, on Thursday and Friday. Obviously, game coverage here on 94.3 The Game with ECU Navy happening Friday at 12 noon. All right, let's introduce our crew today. We've got Maceo Donald. He is back. Maceo, some huge news we'll get to, but I know you're happy for Blake Harrell, one of your former coaches, getting this nod to head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the best move that could have happened. The team is super hot right now. I've been playing some really good football. Had a really big time win this past weekend. So, I mean, he definitely earned it. I think all the guys have rallied around him. And I think, for the future, that's who they want to be coached by, is Coach Harrell. So congrats to him.
No doubt, huge news, and we'll get more into that in a second. Philip Pilkington wearing his Denver Nuggets hat. Go Nuggets. Excited to see that. Philip, when you look at – I know you were over at the Players doing some interviews today. Did they say anything specific about Blake Harrell getting the promotion?
Yeah, they did, and they, obviously they weren't as shy of talking about it as Blake was yesterday with the logistics that have to be formally worked out. But, we talked to Surad Ware and Omar Rogers, and they just both talked about how there was only one decision that could have been made, or only one correct decision that could have been made in their eyes, in the way that Blake led this group of 100-plus young men to, this could have gone one of two ways, and how he led them to be as successful as they were. And Surad was even asked by, I can't remember who, I want to say Chandler, when did you realize that Blake was the right man for the job? And they go, right as he was named the interim. They knew that he deserved it and that he was going to rally the troops, and he did. So they were very openly wanting to talk about it, it seemed like. When we asked them about themselves or about senior day or about Navy, they would give us decent answers. But the minute you asked about Blake Harrell, man, they just perked up, and that's all they really wanted to talk about was Blake Harrell.
All right, I'm looking at myself on the stream, guys. I'm frozen. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, yeah, you are frozen. We can hear you.
Well, I guess that's a very flattering face, so I guess we'll just roll with it. You
want to sign out and sign back in? Well, ask your next question to Maceo. Let Maceo talk. You sign out, sign back in, and then you should be good. So, what do you have for Maceo?
We will do that. All right, Maceo, just obviously, mixed opinions. I think a little bit on hiring an interim, but I think Blake Harrell kind of left East Carolina no choice. Just. Do you feel like this was the right decision given how this thing was trending overall?
Yeah, I do. I think it's kind of one of those things you always hear it in maybe, basketball or even football. It's like you never want to leave it in the refs' hands. Don't give the refs a chance to, dictate the outcome of the game. And I think that's exactly what Coach Harrell did. I mean, he didn't leave it in the hands of the athletic directors. It would make him really hard, and it possibly would make the third floor and Ward look pretty bad if they didn't hire him after he just went on this 4-game winning streak, the longest of which in a few years that we've had at East Carolina. So, I mean, they definitely been playing some great football. I think he's kind of the players coach that everybody really wants. I know there were some big names out there in the coaching free agency, so to say, that could have potentially been our coach at the end of this season. But I think he's the guy. I think he's someone who's already here, someone who's an adult, someone who's had leadership positions before, and someone who the players already know. And I think that will definitely help out as far as recruiting the high school players. I know we've already had some local, Eastern North Carolina high school guys decommit and commit elsewhere after the firing of Coach Houston. So I think it's kind of the best chances that we have now. I think we still probably would have won these games with Coach Houston. But I think it shows a lot just coming back from 21-0 this past week and getting the job done.
Yeah, I think so. And it looks like Igo's not quite back yet, so I don't know if he's having internet issues. But, Maceo, obviously you were on the opposite side of the offensive side of the football, so maybe you didn't have as close of a relationship as some of the defensive guys did. But obviously this is a man who was your coach for 3 years, correct?
Yeah,
that you were there with him.
3 years.
So just as a former player of his and kind of, I guess, as a friend of his, is I feel like I always kind of grew a friendship with my coaches. Just what are kind of your thoughts? Maybe this is what Igo asked you first. I guess kind of what you got into off the jump, but I don't have the script that Igo was going to question you with before. So just, Blake is a man too. And as a coach that you've experienced with him, what does this mean as a former player to see him get this job?
I mean, I think it's awesome. Everyone that I've spoken to, just former players, wanted Coach Harrell to get the job, especially, what he's done the last month or so of football. And, just speaking to him, he's definitely a player's coach. I think Coach Houston might have been that guy that we needed that discipline and needed that structure to turn the program around after, 3 consecutive 3-9 seasons. And Coach Houston was definitely that guy, and he got us to that point. But, I think Harrell was able to dig us out of what we were in this year. They're kind of two different sides of the spectrum. Coach Houston, he's more of that strict kind of, he might be a little intimidating, definitely not less of a player's coach than Coach Harrell is. But, we used to have side of the ball meetings, and I'm on the offensive side with Donnie Kirkpatrick, and he's over there in the other meeting room with the defensive guys. And you could just hear the music jumping loud, getting them into it. And I think that's kind of the coach he is. He's very easy to follow. And he actually has a house down here, I think, a small house or something. He comes down here in Beaufort during the summer. So I've seen him sometimes after my playing days down here. So he's a really good guy. I mean, I've loved talking to him, loved interviewing him at halftime. And, one thing I'm going to enjoy that we're about this, he's a little bit shorter than me, so I don't have to look up to him that much. We're two men, not tall in stature.
Hey, it's funny you bring that up. We've always joked in general, this is way before he got the head coaching job or even named the interim job, should we have a stool waiting for Blake when he comes to the podium for the weekly press conference? I don't know if you've ever seen a side view, but he actually stands up on his tiptoes a little bit during his press conferences, man. It's funny. I probably shouldn't be revealing this, but we've always kind of joked, myself and Chip and some of the other guys and even Malcolm to an extent. It's like, man, should we just to be a jerk one time, should we bring him a stool? Now that he got named the head coach, we really should do that as a almost a hazing welcome to being a head coach. So maybe that's something we'll do to him this coming up week. But yeah, no, it's that's interesting. You bring up the I totally was not even thinking about the sideline gig. Now, obviously, it's heat of the moment right there, halftime. I guess all coaches are kind of the same. They got to give you coach speak. They give it to you. They give it to the TV reporters. I honestly feel bad for the coaches that they have to do it. But you've been on the sideline though, just during these last 4 games, and I know we've talked to you about this already. But what? Oh, Igo's back. I'll punt to Igo now and let the man ask the questions.
Yeah, we're going to see. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, we can.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm on my laptop. I had to pivot, so we're trying to figure this out. All right. So I'm assuming you guys have been discussing the Blake Harrell hire, and I haven't been able to listen.
Oh, we were actually talking about Japanese wrestling.
There you go. See what happens when I leave?
Yeah, we go totally off topic.
Being out of practice, Maceo, and, even last week, just the whole vibe, it really hasn't changed, even as, to me, like there's been more pressure on Blake with each successive win, more talk about him, becoming more than the interim and becoming the permanent coach. Like, to me, it's a big deal that he hasn't really changed his style nor his coaching style. Do you think that's a good sign too? Like, I think the Blake Harrell we're getting now is the same Blake Harrell we're going to get when it's time for him to be obviously the full-time head coach next season.
Yeah, I think that's just him. We didn't have that much direct contact as far as just like on a daily basis since I was the offensive guy. But I mean, Coach Harrell, just how you see him now, he treated all the offensive guys. It's almost like, you not your direct position coaches were always cool with the opposite side of the ball more than your own coaches. And he was that guy. I mean, I've talked to him a bunch. Really good guy, really cool guy. And I think that's the kind of energy that the team needed. I feel like it was almost kind of a little weight off their shoulders, not as much pressure going out there and playing. But I'm sure it's been hard on them just not knowing what the future holds. And, let's be honest, a lot of the coaches probably were like, we might be having to move after the end of the season or regardless of how well we do. We just got here 1 year. We're going to have to move and get a new job, move our family. So it's definitely a lot of pressure. I think some of that pressure is definitely gone now. Still have a job to do this weekend and in a bowl game and obviously preparing for next season. But I'm sure he'll enjoy that pay raise I'm sure he's going to get.
How much of this, Maceo, is a credit to John David Baker? I mean, look, Blake Harrell's getting the recognition, but I would say if you took away this offense right now and how it's trending, I don't think the conversation would be about Blake Harrell being the guy. And certainly Blake deserves a lot of the credit. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But just from the standpoint of JDB's offense coming into its own and really meshing, and I think Blake deserves credit for unlocking that and allowing him to be himself, maybe to a degree. But just JDB's offense, Caden Hauser, the insertion of him, how much of that should be credited here and part of the future?
Oh, it's a lot. I think all three of them, Caden, JDB, and Coach Harrell have been a huge, just part of this last month of football. I mean, Caden has come on like, everyone's kind of saying he should have been the guy the whole time. I think, people have suspected him struggling with injury in the preseason and just earlier in the season, which is why we didn't see him. But, I think him, JDB, and Coach Harrell have been probably equally responsible for the success we've had. I mean, Caden, he looks really good. He's up there with some of the guys you can just throw a good deep ball, and our guys are getting open, and JDB's dialing it up. So I think all that helps. Obviously, it helps when you win. Obviously, it helps when you have fun winning and scoring a lot of points, which is what we've done the last 4 games.
All right, Sir Cookie Pants in the YouTube chat, great name. He says, can Blake handle the NIL game and the transfer portal? So, I mean, that's one of the questions that's I would say an unknown, Maceo, from the standpoint of we just really don't know until we see it play out. But, I mean, if you're hiring any coach that's not a sitting head coach, it's a question mark, whether it would have been Garrett Riley, whether it would have been Joe Sloan, whoever. So, I don't know. Do you feel like Blake will handle that just fine? Any thoughts on that, just knowing him as a person?
Yeah, I think he will, and I think it's probably similar to just how he's handled this role moving into interim head coach. Because I mean, in some way, he had to recruit his guys and kind of get those guys that are on the team now to rally behind him after Coach Houston was fired. I mean, Harrell was had some in some respects was recruited some of these guys that are on the team now, but that was mainly Coach Houston, his job, and a lot of the position coaches going out and actually doing that. But I think you could consider it the same way. Just I don't think we'd be 4-0 after Coach Houston was fired with a coach that the guys didn't like or someone who couldn't get the guys behind him and rally. So I think we can look at him that way. Obviously, this will be a new role for him this offseason. The first time he's doing it in this respect, really, just making all the decisions, for the most part. So I'll be curious to see what happens in the offseason. I was telling Philip that I know that we've lost a couple recruits. I know one in particular from Havelock, Jonathan Williams, who was committed to East Carolina, who's now committed to JMU, left after Coach Houston was fired. So I think some situations like that, he might have to get over those, but I think he'll be able to retain the guys that are already committed and then go out in the portal and get some more guys that we'll need for next season.
A note on that, by the way, I was texting Johnny last night and, develop a good relationship while he's committed. He did say that he's going to still listen to the Pirates. So I would not rule it out, Maceo. He's a heck of a player. Yeah. So, talking with him and a few of the other decommits, I think, look, they decommitted Maceo because they didn't know the future. And at that time, there was definitely no guarantee that Blake and the staff will be back. So I don't blame them at all. But I think you've seen Johnny firsthand, or at least seen, him a little bit your way, highlights or whatever. So if they get him back, that'd be a pretty big deal, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the kid can do anything. I actually played with his older brother, who's a year younger than me. We played together. So I kind of watched Johnny grow up and, turn into kind of that player he is over at Havelock High School right now. I mean, the kid can play quarterback, DB. He plays receiver now. So, I mean, he's definitely a special kid, hard to bring down, hard to tackle. But you're absolutely right. It was just that unknown factor. The players just didn't know who was going to be the next coach, would they want them, and just me being through that in a certain extent, not being recruited by the coaches who are there. That's never easy. So, but I think he's the type of player anyone that has some eyes would probably want him. So, you never know what could happen. Still has some time. The paper hasn't been signed, so some of those guys might want to come back now that they know Harrell is going to be the guy.
The final thing before we take our first break, ECU is down 21-0. Be honest, did you give up hope at that point, or were you still believing in you guys?
Yeah, well, it wasn't looking good. And I know North Texas isn't, a super just great program, great team, but it wasn't. It was looking ugly, and I won't share with you guys what some of us in our group chat was talking about at the time, and next thing you know, they're up and it came back into the game. So I think that's just a huge win. Reminds me of that Marshall game a few years ago. Same colors on the other team, so. It was definitely a huge win, definitely surprising. I was surprised they really went down like that, but even more surprised that they came back and won by double digits. So kudos to them.
All right, he is Maceo Donald. I'm Stephen Igo. I think we've got at least some of our technical issues figured out. So we'll continue on after this timeout. Philip Pilkington also will rejoin us. He is producing today's show. We will be right back. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast, Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
ECU Athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on this Tuesday, November 26th edition. We had some technical difficulties, still working through some of that. So the audio may not be as clean as usual. Apologies for that. We're working on getting that back up and running. I had to reset my computer. Philip Pilkington is back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Maceo Donald joining us as always. And Maceo, we've got a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. Navy coming up. Was this one of your least or most favorite weeks of the year when you were on the team?
Worst ever, especially when they're doing that option offense. Worst week of practice ever, especially if you're a scout team player, which thankfully I wasn't on that, for after my first couple of years. But definitely a hard team to play, very physical team. They changed that offense up a lot, so they might have to worry about that as much, but definitely a challenge always.
Navy is no stranger to beating ECU. They have never lost inside Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. Blake Harrell's mantra has kind of been, I want to get both y'all's take on this. Blake Harrell's mantra has kind of been since he took over that, the opponent matters, but we're going to worry about ourselves and play our game. But, it's kind of hard to do that when you're facing Navy. So we'll start here with Philip. How do you think Blake finds that balance? Especially, this is his most challenging week as head coach to me because short week, emotional win, you're named the head coach, Navy's got a bye. I mean, these are very tough circumstances for Coach Harrell. But your thoughts on how you find that balance?
They are, and it's really tough because you're the defensive coordinator against an option team and the head coach. But you brought up the point there of what Blake Harrell's mindset has been, and that's we're going to be us. And yes, so maybe personnel-wise on defense, you're not starting the same 11. Maybe your calls are different because you're not seeing 11 personnel from the opponent. But still, what you can do when you can say we worry about us is the offense. Yes, they can still go out there and have the same philosophy. Yeah, you don't want to have a quick 3 and out and turn the ball over to Navy and let them have a 12-minute drive. But if you're worried about that, then you're not being yourself, and then that's when that ends up happening. And even from the defense, you still go in with the same mindset. Yes, maybe you have to go in with a different skill set or a different play calling set, but you still do what you do. You still know your gaps. You still know, hey, this is what we pride ourselves on. So you can still go with the same mentality against Navy, maybe even if you don't go in with the same scheme against Navy.
Maceo, your thoughts on the challenges at hand here with Coach Harrell trying to coordinate the defense on a short week and also get his team ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think just preparing yourself to coach on a short week, especially against this offense, will just help him, in his head coaching duties. Because, I mean, this is always a serious week. It's also always a week that coaches prepare for, for a bit by bit, just earlier and throughout the season. So they'll be prepared, but obviously this is a hard team to play. And I think, they're more susceptible to passing the ball this year. So I think that's one thing they'll have to keep their eye on. But I think Coach Harrell goes out. I mean, they're P's and Q's. I mean, they're very hot right now. Navy has shown to be able to, lose some games. I think they've lost 3 out of their last 4 or something like that. So they haven't looked as great as they have earlier in the season. But I think, the guys will be ready to play at home. They're hot right now, senior night. Those guys like Big Tay, Rajay Harris, I definitely think they're going to want to go out on a win.
Maceo Donald with us here. Philip Pilkington also joining us. We got some questions, comments, guys. Will Landon says, what are we hearing regarding Blake Horvath, the quarterback for Navy? Will, no report yet. And honestly, I mean, it's just one of those things, guys, with college football, there's no mandated injury report. We can go out to practice. We can see Chase Sowell, Winston Wright run around. We saw them pregame at North Texas. Thought they were going to play. They were during walkthroughs with the first team. And then they don't play because it's kind of a gamesmanship thing. So if you're Navy, no reason to release, announce anything regarding Horvath's status, Maceo, because it's a big deal. He's their leading rusher, leading passer. And if ECU knows he's not playing, that changes your entire game plan. So that's just, one of the things with college football right now is we can try to get info, but it's going to be very hard for us to get that info.
Yeah, it's definitely a cat and mouse game. I think we did that earlier this season. I forgot which player it was, but it was kind of a similar situation where we didn't know if he was, or no, it was definitely Savone Revel.
Yeah.
I think they waited to the last minute to kind of say something, or before it got released by Adam Scheffler and all those guys, to see if Savone was going to play this week. So it's definitely going to be something like that. Obviously, the guys are going to have to prepare for whoever, have to prepare for different skill sets on the field. But that's just a part of it. Like you said, it's a little gamesmanship.
No doubts. So we'll see on Blake Horvath. Ryan Benner says, got to stop the fullback dive. This is a different Navy option, but there will still be some triple options. So definitely, they've got very capable fullback and slot backs. Skip says it's challenging, but not hard to stop the wing T. Well, that's kind of a contradictory statement, but we'll see how it plays out. I do know that ECU's experience in these types of games will certainly help with that defensive front. Tony Hicks says it appears from the players and the fan base, he says 4 wins in a row helps, that ECU is, quote, back with this coaching staff. What are our thoughts on that? Maceo, we'll start with you. You're a former player. Is ECU officially back?
I mean, I think we're still going to have to wait until next season a little bit. You know, if we win this week and win the bowl game, I think you can almost stamp it. But if we're being honest, we had a pretty easy schedule this year. I think we probably could have won about 10 games if we're being honest this season. I think it was that type of schedule, and we have that type of talent on the team. But I think, it's still a long way to go. Coach Harrell has coached a half of a season, hasn't gone a full season yet. We're still going to be losing a lot of players. Roger Harris is going to be gone, who's been playing great these past 2 weeks. And I'm surprised he's been an honorable mention for the American Conference. I'm surprised he hasn't actually made the squad, but he's been honorable mention, which is ridiculous to me after these past 2 weeks. But I think it's still going to be a lot to work through. I don't know if anyone's seen our schedule for next year, but it's not easy. I think we play with State, BYU, Memphis, Tulane. So it's definitely going to be a challenge next year, but I think, they'll prepare them. But if we win out, I think you can almost stamp it.
Philip, are you ready to stamp it?
No, I'm with Maceo. I got to see something more consistent. I think the ground floor has clearly been laid for them to be back after a 2-10 season and then a tough start this year. And look, you have to start from the ground floor, right? You don't lay the foundation, you can't build the house. So we've got the foundation to go out there and build a very nice mansion right now. And I think we've got a good man at the helm who's going to be our project manager and lead it. But foundation's there, but you just got to it takes time. These things don't happen overnight.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Not ready to proclaim East Carolina is back. I agree with Maceo. If ECU beats Navy, and then if they get a big bowl game where they're facing an ACC school in the Fenway or Military Bowl and they go win that game, I will be ready to proclaim that they are, 100% back, but well on their way. Like the schedule right now plays a role. Still some uncertainty going forward with how this thing will shake out. But I agree. Next year is when you can start to talk about being back. If you go beat NC State on the road in the opener, if you beat BYU at home, if you can prove that you're better than Tulane and Memphis, who are kind of the cream of the crop in this league right now, that's when you're back. It's a good step. ECU is not back yet, though, Tony. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble. All right, Cameron, kind of going similar question here. He says, if ECU were to beat Navy at home for the first time ever, would that be considered the biggest win for the program since UNC in 2014? I'm going to say no. I think that run of 3 consecutive games in 22, beating Memphis, UCF, and at BYU, those are all huge wins. Maceo, you were on that team, so I know you can speak to how big those wins are. I don't know if any others stand out compared to that UNC 2014 game.
Yeah, it's hard kind of when you put it in perspective that way. I don't think the talent of these past few teams that we've beaten has been that great. I think a lot of people feel like Coach Houston would have won these games also, maybe if the situation were different. But that 22 year, and I'm obviously biased, but those were some games, away games, some really good teams that have moved on to the Big 12 now that we played and beat. But I definitely have to go with that 22 season. I was having a heart attack almost every weekend that year and the year before. It was just some really close games that we were able to pull out. And I think we should have beaten Cincinnati that year also. So really special season that year. But I think this year has definitely been, amazing. And the boys are hot right now. They're playing really well.
Philip, are you ready to say it'd be that big of a win or anywhere close to it?
No, like you guys said, to go out there and beat 3 really good teams in a row in that 22 span was big. When was the home win against West Virginia when they were ranked in the top 5? Was that before?
That was 08.
Okay, so that's way before. Never mind. See my lack of East Carolina history knowledge, so it's definitely not that. But yeah, It would be big, but I think maybe we're getting too caught up in the fact that it would be the first home win against Navy. Is the reason why that's being said. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool, and anytime you haven't beat a team on your own turf, you want to, but at the end of the day, beating option football teams is a stepping stone in being successful. It is, especially when you play two of them or can play two of them in a season, but beating teams who are very talented, who are national championship style and conference championship style offenses and defenses week in and week out, that's different, because beating a team like BYU is the kind of teams you have to beat to be successful, to win a conference title, even though they're not in this conference. But that could be a team you could run into in the college football playoff if you then do win that conference title. So look, it would be cool. It would be a magical thing. Military Appreciation Day. Appreciate all of our service members, and hopefully we can put on a great showing for them. But yeah, to me, it's not the biggest since Carolina.
Yeah, it'd be a massive win for Blake Harrell to kind of put a cherry on top of this run. I don't think it's a make or break game in any way. But, another measuring stick game. ECU has always struggled against Navy. So if you go out there and win this game, given the circumstances, to me, very unfair situation for ECU. And I'm not just trying to make excuses, but the short week, having to face a option team again, Navy off a bye, is whatever. It kind of ticks me off, but it is what it is.
How many years in a row is this, Igo?
It's like 4 of the last 5 meetings, I want to say, Navy has gotten a bye before ECU. Like, that's a little egregious.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. So final thing for you, we got to get you out of here, I know, but what do you think, man? Do you think the Pirates find a way to get it done Friday? This is a tall task, again, facing the team off a bye when you're facing a short week, kind of the distraction of the head coaching news. So you think the Pirates find a way to get it done, and what are those keys to victory?
Yeah, I'll take them. I'll take the Pirates on Friday at noon. I think the biggest thing is just taking advantage of our possessions on offense. Caton has done pretty well. I mean, he's turned the ball over a little bit, but he's done pretty well for the most part. But it's going to be hard to beat a Navy team turning the ball over and not executing or scoring in the red zone, because if we get down like a 21-0, like this past week, we're not coming back from that. They just take too long to score the ball. They drain all the time, and they usually can punch it in on the ground. I think just thinking back to that 21 season, I think when Owen Daffer kicked that, game winner, I think we scored on every single possession, and it was still like a close game like that and finished like that at the end. So that's just a sign you have to take advantage of those possessions on Saturday. But I'll take the Pirates for sure. We don't turn the ball over. We get out to a good start. I think we definitely got a shot.
All right, I know we got to get out of here quick, but Maceo's Chiefs did beat my Panthers. We always talk NFL, so we got to give them time to grow.
Well, I mean, we're just seeing what we like right now with Mahomes and Andy Reid. Still seeing who's going to be playing, and I won't lie, I'm getting a little bit nervous. They're not looking the best, but I mean, they're still 10-1 after winning 2 Super Bowls in a row. So, with the best record in the NFL, so I don't want to be too hard on them, but. It hasn't looked like their best football, so still a lot of time to play. Ravens are scary, obviously. Who else is in the AFC?
Bills.
Ravens and the Bills are scary, obviously.
Broncos.
Broncos are coming up. They're actually really good. Actually, I like them a lot. J Max over there, so going to be a lot of competition, but we'll see how it goes. But the Panthers are looking better too. Bryce Young actually looks like a #1 overall draft pick these past 3 weeks.
Maceo, I'm just going to give you a little vote of confidence here. The last time a team won back-to-back Super Bowls is New England Patriots, 2004, 2005, 2003, 2004. In the 2005 season, they come into Bank of America Stadium, lose by 10 points to the Panthers. Your Chiefs were victorious, so you're already in a better spot than Tom Brady. Just saying.
Well, it's the Panthers.
It was the Panthers that day, too. It might have been a Panthers team that went to the NFC Championship game, but they're still the Panthers.
Yeah, it's different Panthers.
Very different Panthers. All right, Maceo, we appreciate it, man. We'll see you Friday in Dowdy Ficklin, but thanks as always.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. All right, we'll get a quick break in. We're going to have a quick segment on the other side before we get to Kevin Monroe. This is Hoist the Colors.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Hoist the Johnny Roger! Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on this Tuesday. Going to be a really short segment here. We got a break to get to Kevin Monroe, but wanted to answer a few of these questions. We got a lot coming in, and Sir Cookie Pants says, we see head coaches continue to be play callers. Does Blake do that or hand the defensive keys to someone else? We kind of talked about this Monday, Philip, but I tend to lean towards, since he's had success, and this may change over the coming games, since he's had success calling plays as the head coach, I would think at the least he's still going to be involved in the play calling. Whether he hires somebody to call it, I don't know, but he's had success doing that. So my guess is it's going to be a hard time for him to just give that up.
Well, as far as right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Him getting the interim tag pulled, you can't change things. As far as moving forward, look, it depends on who the DC is, how much faith he's got in that guy. If it's Roy Tesh, I'm going to say there's a better chance of him, punting the play calling than if it's somebody he has less of a relationship with. There's so many things to be worked out in the offseason, so many logistics. It's really hard, I feel like, to make that prediction right now.
Johnny Robertson, our stats guy, says in their 2 wins versus Navy, the Pirates converted 6 of 7 fourth down conversions. So that could be a key to watch on Saturday. Cameron says, when do we start to get an idea about how much money Team Boneyard has for upcoming portal additions? I know they have seen donations increase the past few weeks. Cameron, our plan is to get somebody from Team Boneyard on next week following the regular season finale, kind of go through at least where the numbers stand, whatever they can share at that time. We'll get one of the board members on. There has been a significant push in the month of November. That's only increased with the Blake Harrell news, with the 4 straight wins. I think the goal is obviously to match last year's 1 million raise for the football team, but most likely try and get to 1.5 million, if not higher. To me, they really need to get to 1.5, closer to 2 million. Talking with people in other collectives in the league, you've got USF at 2.5 million. You've got Memphis up there over 2 million. A lot of the teams like Tulane that are at the top of this league are over 2 million. So I think that's where ECU needs to be. But certainly, if they can get to 1.5 million, that would be a starting point and a significant increase from last year. All right, let's go ahead and get a break in. We'll connect with Kevin Monroe on the other side. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
This holiday season, get the gift you really want at Greenville Toyota. It's our holiday trade-up. Drive a new Corolla, just $229 a month, or a new Tacoma, only $329 a month during the holiday trade-up at Greenville Toyota.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Hey, on the mountain we've got a saying. Get off your... Show off. Mountain Dew.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves tiebreakers.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Unwrap a new Toyota for the holidays at Greenville Toyota. It's our holiday trade-up. Get a new Camry, $269 a month, or a new RAV4, $329 a month. Trade up and save at Greenville Toyota.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Arr, matey.
Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on this Tuesday, November 26th edition of the program. We just talked with Maceo Donald, sideline reporter on the ECU Sports Network. We're now going to visit with Kevin
I tried
Monroe.
to call him twice. Sorry, I should have texted you, but I was calling one more time as the region was playing, and I've texted him, and I can't get a hold of Kevin.
All good, man. Let me know if we get him.
All right, I will. Sorry.
If we do, we will. We'll get Kevin on. If not, we'll continue to answer your questions, which we do have a lot of. And all right, so Robert, following up on the Team Boneyard situation, says get your Team Boneyard donations in before the end of December for the 2025 season. Yeah, I mean, if you have not, look, I think if you have not gotten in your donations yet, can't encourage you enough. And those who have donated have made a huge difference already. But I believe throughout November, you get to triple priority points. I can't remember the exact number, but the Pirate Club has certainly joined forces with the Team Boneyard to significantly increase the perks of giving. You get something in return for that. So certainly can't encourage it enough. The portal opens December 9th. ECU needs an idea, and certainly fundraising will continue beyond that. But ECU needs an idea of what they're working with for Blake Harrell and this coaching staff to have success in A, retaining players, and B, having access to acquired talent as well. Bruce Willis, who is blowing up the comments section, he's having a lot of fun. Talking about the D-line and their ability to stop the fullback dive on Friday. But we also have a question from Scout Houston, who says feelings on next year's defensive line losing a lot of experience. So you are set to lose Surad Ware. You're also set to lose Elijah Morris, Deontay Johnson, Jaden McKenzie, Chad Stevens. Those are 5 senior defensive linemen, Phillip, that are going to be big losses. Now, CJ Mims, a redshirt sophomore, was the highest rated defensive lineman for ECU this past weekend. He has been playing a lot. J.D. Lampley's a junior. He is scheduled to be back. You also have some guys in the program who are redshirting or who are going to be part of the special teams rotation right now who have a chance to join in time. That should be developing. You bring back on paper your edge rushers, Raheem Craig, and also Samuel Danka and Jackson Barker. So I don't think it's as dire as it seems, but certainly want to see this group add maybe a transfer or two, Phillip. Just your take on the D-line, because that is a lot to replace.
It is, and it's like you said. The great thing is the edge is still going to be there, and we've been so good at stopping the outside run. But you want to have that interior. You want to have depth, right? Like we know we're going to have 2 or 3 guys, but they love to rotate so much. But look, if you can add a guy, and like you said, there's going to be some guys, probably some names that a lot of Pirate fans don't know that'll step up, who's already on the roster. Look, man, now look, what I'm about to say, Roy Tesh could be poached. Because Roy Tesh has been here 5 years. He's done a hell of a job all 5 years. For all we know, he could get another job somewhere. But I'm guessing he's either still going to be the defensive line coach here, or he's going to be the defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. And if Roy Tesh is coaching the defensive line, it can only be so bad. It's going to be pretty damn good one way or another as long as he's here. So your question should be more about what's the future for Roy Tesh than what are the players, because he's going to find a way, I can tell you that.
Roy Tesh is certainly one of the best technicians on the staff. To me, the most underrated staff member since Mike Houston originally hired a staff. Obviously, one of the few original members left. I agree. Somebody mentioned earlier, let me see if I can find that comment. Will says, I hope we move Roy Tesh to defensive coordinator and bring back Mark Yellock to coach the D-line. That glove would fit. Look, I am a huge fan of Mark Yellock. You guys know that. He is often on our show. I think Mark Yellock's passion runs extremely deep for East Carolina. But we text every week, and I know it kills him that he's not coaching ECU firsthand and that he would love nothing more to get back into it. So I'm all for that. Blake Harrell's got to do certainly what he feels is best. I know him and Mark have a relationship. But I agree. Roy Tesh as well. You may not need to go outside to hire a DC, Phillip. And especially to me, if Blake's going to continue to call plays that give somebody else the defensive coordinator title, there is nobody more deserving than Roy Tesh.
That's true. And if he does get the promotion, there's a good chance he retains the defensive line coach. You got to think right now Blake still coaches the linebackers, right? So this is not the NFL where you are a coordinator and that is it. You don't have a position group. And not saying they wouldn't bring in Mark Yellock or somebody else, but, he's been loyal to Blake and Coach Houston for so long. So, I hope he stays. I really do. But at the end of the day, I hope for his sake, because he deserves it, that he is more than just the defensive line coach of the East Carolina Pirates next year. Now, if he's DC and D-line coach, cool. If he gets poached and goes somewhere else, I will be disappointed, but I will understand if he gets a defense coordinator job somewhere else. So it's more than deserved, and I'm sure that he's got to be considered. I mean, him and Blake are definitely in talks. They're still having their daily jogs. I was leaving the press conference today, and they were taking off. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's tighter in the coaching staff than those two. So fingers crossed. That's all I can say. I know Blake will make the right hire, whoever that is, whether he brings in Magazoo or Tripp or whoever. But man, I look, I'm Team Roy Tesh. Tesh DC 2025.
Tesh DC 2025. Maybe we should make one of those signs, just like we've seen with Harrell Baker 2024. All right, so a lot of D-line talk. I'll kind of take a look at the roster. So here are some names to know. And I'll say this about ECU's defensive rooms in general. Throughout the Mike Houston tenure and the Blake Harrell tenure, obviously, this staff has done a really good job of not only bringing in transfers to supplement the defensive positions in particular, but develop defensive players. So there are a lot of guys on the roster now that are either on the fringe of playing or traveling and playing special teams, but certainly could play a role next year. All right, so Preston Carr is a redshirt sophomore defensive lineman, started as a walk-on but has gotten some playing time, 6'3", 300 pounds. He could be a guy who plays a bigger role next season. Kieran Davis, a defensive end, redshirt freshman right now, 6'2", 250. He's been playing special teams, has played a little bit. He would likely be your next guy up at defensive end beyond J.D. Lampley next season with Chad Stevens graduating. You also have another walk-on defensive lineman who could be a scholarship guy, Zion Wilson, who's a redshirt junior, 6'3", 318, another big body. You've got Josiah Robinson, who's a redshirt junior defensive end. Now, he struggled with injuries, but is a guy who could potentially return next year. DeMorris Jenkins, 6'4", 255 defensive end, who is still developing on the scout team. You've also got a guy who is redshirting right now on the defensive line that was signed last year, Javon Williams out of Florida. I've heard very promising things about him. You've got Logan Wilson. Excuse me. Let's see if I get the name right.
Logan
here.
Wright.
Logan Wright. Yeah, there you go. They call him Lugnut. 5'9", 317, Philip. He is the swamp monster. Sam Riddy, 6'6", 290, is redshirting. Has a chance to be a player. Torin Brazell, 6'2", 275, is redshirting. So it's not like they're just going to have to bring in a bunch of dudes. Now, you do want to add some experience here, but they've got bodies. They have been preparing for this, is my point.
Yeah, they've got bodies, and like we said, we mentioned earlier in the last segment, there is some experience, right? It's not like we're starting over fresh and nobody's going to have game experience. Yeah, you would like to have every guy have a lot of game experience, but at the end of the day, you only get 4 years eligibility, maybe 5 or 6 if you're, like Holton Ahlers or Frank Harris, but for the most part, you're getting 4, and there can only be so many snaps that get played. And like I said, a lot of these young guys, look, they're going up on scout team against Dustin Hall. It's not like they're out there not playing right now. Yeah, they might not be playing a game. The only thing that simulate game reps is game reps. But these guys are going out there inside run period, hitting some really good offensive linemen right now. And look at who their mentors are. If Big Tay and Surad and those guys are your mentors, and I'm not just saying it just from a leadership standpoint, but their knowledge, that is a high IQ room right now when you look at the starters, and I'm sure it's trickling down. And if it's not trickling down to one of these kids, I don't know how these exit meetings are going to go, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're like, look, you're not going to play here. You don't have the brains to play here. They're going to let you go. This is a high IQ football team. And if Coach Harrell and Coach Tesh think that these guys can play, I can tell you they can play.
Shy Thompson's another redshirt, a freshman who is redshirting. He's a 6'4", 250-pound outside linebacker. I had a scout come up to me during a game this year, during pregame, FAU, and he asked me who Shy Thompson was, and I said, yeah, he's an outside linebacker. And he's like, if that guy does not turn into a player in a few years, somebody needs to be fired just based off how athletic and long he is. So, you've got talent waiting in the wings, and I feel like ECU's defensive staff in particular has done a really good job preparing for these moments, and I feel in great hands. There's been a lot of talk about Blake Harrell as a recruiter. I think covering recruiting, Blake Harrell has done an excellent job recruiting the defensive side of the ball. Like, he is in on everybody defensively that I talk to that's committed, that's a top target. I expect him to be a very good recruiter as a head coach and a good closer. Offensively, to be honest, I don't feel like the offensive recruiting has been as strong as the defensive recruiting over the previous 4 to 5 years. Now, with this offensive staff coming in, having some younger juice, some younger energy, I think the offensive recruiting in this class has taken a step up. I would expect that to continue to take a step forward. I do want to see ECU continue to recruit better length and size across the board to compete for AAC championships, but especially up front along the offensive line and defensively, I still want to see some more consistent pass rush, prototypical bodies. But I do feel like the recruiting, for the most part, is in a good space, and they just have to continue to elevate that. So, Philip, we'll have plenty of time in December. My hunch is, instead of doing coaching search shows like we may have been doing, we're going to be doing deep dives into the roster position needs. So I am looking forward to that, because that is, as much of a pain as the offseason is with the portal and recruiting, it does create a lot of intrigue.
Sorry, I was texting Kevin. I did not get that question. I apologize. If it wasn't Kevin, I wouldn't have my phone.
We were talking about how December is going to be full of plenty of intrigue with roster discussion and just the portal.
It will be.
That. It's basically like college free agency.
Yeah, I'm going to get some time off a little bit in December. I think basketball's got exams 1 week. We'll be prepping for the bowl game. You, my friend, will not. Good luck to Erica and the kids seeing Steven at any point over the next few weeks.
December, as we call in the recruiting industry, 24/7 Sports is our money-making business. By the way, we are running a 75% off special for Black Friday this week on Hoist the Colors. So if you're not a subscriber yet on the website, can't encourage you enough to do that right now. You won't find a better deal. If you are a full-time subscriber and you're paying full price, you get a free subscription to Paramount Plus. If you have not activated that yet, let me know, and I will tell you how to do that. All right, we have got to get out of here on this Tuesday. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, with Bobby Harward. Appreciate Philip. Appreciate Maceo Donald as well. We'll hook up with Kevin Monroe next week. Looking forward to that. We got to get out of here, though. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 noon. See you then.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back tomorrow with more of Hoist the Colors on 943 The Game.